And right, you are on camera, so watch where you say. Watch our executives. Well, it's nice to have some of that smoke blow away this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Geez, yesterday was ridiculous, and several places before that.
I remember when the first real bad one we had was the one up in Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we had a little fires in Colorado, but they never got really horrible.
Right.
But that Yellowstone one, I mean, my gosh. You know, I'd get up in the morning and I'd be driving to work, the sun would just be
Orange.
well,
yeah.
red.
Yeah.
Just red. And we always used to go backpacking about this time of the year up in the Wind River, which is
Oh, beautiful.
You know, near there. And we didn't even go up that year.
Wow.
It was that bad.
Did you live in that area?
No, no.
Okay.
It's just a place we all, Tom and the niece, friends of mine, their parents used to go backpacking up there. And her father was a ranger, retired
Yeah.
forest ranger. And he got everybody hooked on going up into that area.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yep. This guy was 75 and he was still up there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he'd leave everybody in the dirt, you know.
Really? Yeah.
Down the trail he'd go.
Wow.
But then we had a couple problems with a couple people and so it.
Hey, Neil.
Hello. I did have him call to tell you that I goofed. It was 9:30.
Oh, that's all right. I didn't get, I might have got a text or something, but I've been swatting other flies
Oh, okay.
What are they doing on the bluff?
for fixing that sidewalk.
What was wrong with it?
It's just rock, supposed to have been concrete.
Oh, so that section, okay.
Yeah.
The lawn's been good.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
coming
It is. I'm always shocked you can bring those things.
Oh my
back to
God,
life.
when they left, I was like, oh, Neil must be pissed.
It was.
Yep.
What's
I'm
that?
getting it to come back.
Yeah, you are.
Extra water and I gotta rake those dead spots where the foot
Buff up,
traffic
yeah, buff up
run
the
down
dirt
right
a
to
little.
dirt.
Yeah. It's so compacted.
Yeah.
An radiator over it too, or?
Well,
Maybe.
Hi.
How are you all?
Good.
Good. You ever able to open anything I sent you?
The first one that you said, can you open this? I couldn't, and
Yeah.
I responded, but yeah, the other ones I could.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, because
Yeah.
I was afraid I was kind of
Yeah.
not batting 1,000. Oh, man. What that is, hi Neil, how you doing over there?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing good. Let's sit over here.
Oh,
Sit.
We were gonna I put Mark there so all of us can see him.
Well, he needs to.
Because if he sits right there, he's gonna be
Yeah.
back and forth like this.
Do you know, thank you. Do you know if we can plug the computer directly into that and watch anything that's on my computer? Have you all done that before?
You'd have to
Melanie
ask.
would know,
Melanie,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just turn this off. Oh, it is off.
You never turned it on. I do that sometimes. I'm like, how did I miss that call?
That actually helps.
Yes.
I Okay, you all are gonna hate me.
Uh-oh.
But I doubt that. This is, I didn't actually send this to you guys.
Okay.
in as an attachment, because it is
Thank you.
just the native trees.
Okay.
And I think that would certainly be a preference, but for a variety of trees.
No
This is-
trees.
Yes, there are trees everywhere that you have to hand water every single
Look
day.
at with the mower.
How are our little trees doing at Jeff's Price?
Yeah, they look dry, but we've been trying to water them twice a week.
Hey.
The guy needs to look, well, they're starting to.
Put me there. They're probably stressed.
Yeah.
Hi there, sir. How you doing?
Oh, fair enough. I need to get a bottle of water.
All right,
Howdy, gang.
would you grab an extra?
Sure.
Thank you. See, I don't know. So the key part to the native trees, and I'm not going, if we get to that point in the discussion.
Okay.
I'm not saying just native, because it depends on the concept
Right.
of what you guys want to do. Thank you, sir.
Sure. I got some late, huh? Ooh, 3 minutes.
No, I hear it as well. Okay, so that's the native trees. And then there's a native trees, I think I sent this one to you guys, a native trees for the landscapes. Okay. We have two there.
Yeah.
So
Aren't these?
Oh, yeah.
These are
it's
both the
thing.
same.
This is the same thing.
is that the same
Well,
thing?
it's
One
the
is
same top page.
polarized, well, it could be the same thing, I mean, just gotten answers. And there's small deciduous trees. I'll wait with these because depending on which direction our
Okay.
discussion goes today. I didn't make a printout, but I did send you all, I think, the price list for trees. So I know we're not really called to order, I'm just kind of getting
Okay.
things in front of.
We're called to order.
Okay,
Okay.
yay.
All right, so, there's specific trees and shrubs for mountain areas as well. And the trick is, according to the research, our cutoff for certain varieties of trees are about 7,500 feet. So as we go forward, those are the kinds of things that I wanted us to, but I'm hoping you'll open the meeting with kind of a conversation on what happened a little more of what happened when you presented our ideas to the board.
Oh, okay. I had submitted 2 suggestions to the board. One was about the trees and one was about finance. I got nowhere on the finance. My thought was when we have an exceptional undertaking on the part of the board, like worker housing, there's gonna be things we gotta cough up money. I mean, as some people say, what could possibly go wrong? And it struck me that the thinking in the workshops, which were no decisions, was generally to take stuff out of line items, including the line item for a lot of the park stuff. So I tried to say, why can't we, in those specific long-term projects, I'm not sure how I worded it, where we're gonna need hunks of money, like to Barry Keene's attempting to get an organization together, why doesn't that come out of the reserve? I mean, it's an unexpected major expense. And the consensus was it's only for emergencies. And so, to be honest, I kind of gave up arguing about it because
Yeah.
I kind of figured if we had an emergency to the point where there was no tax income at all, and we need a whole year's supply of money, the least of problems. I mean, I don't know what it would be, a massive fire. I don't know what constitute that.
Downturn in the economy. you know,
And
it's
a new
happened.
zip code,
Yeah,
that's gonna affect us. Silvercliff gets their zip code.
Not that much, I don't think.
actually, the task, from what I've heard from Aaron and others, including Kathy Reese, the tax zones are not one-to-one with the zip codes.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, repeatedly. I couldn't tell you how they work, but. So in any case, so the board was not in favor of that. Now, I had hoped that we could figure out some money, because Neil, I thought you've been telling us, you know, that you could use it to do things that we're doing now, yet alone anything new.
Yeah, we're just doing maintenance and, we gotta work within whatever budget we have.
Well, that was the point. I was trying to argue that we revise that budget. Now, we don't have a date for a workshop, do we, Andy?
No, not yet.
So I don't quite understand. I mean, nobody seems to be concerned about it, and we still got dead trees in Just Price Park that one of these days could fall down and all that. I don't know.
I think it'll be a while. They just cut the roots. It'll be a year or two before they're rotten enough to fall down, I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
Then we got some trees on Main Street too there.
yep.
Pretty bad. And then we got some oddball trees on Main Street also.
Actually, if you walk Main Street, there's quite a variety of some trees, no trees, some trees. It's a pretty helter-skelter. So one way or the other, in terms of trying to get bucks focused, that didn't go. Although Paul was saying we'd kick it off to the next workshop. We did, though, get the notion of the two zones in the park around the kiddie playground designated, even though I was gonna buy some of those survey markers you pound in the ground and they're below the lawnmowers. And they're not a tripping hazard. And I don't know if you'd wanna use those or not, but I would like to designate that zone some way that we know where it is. The other thing I thought of was I've done building houses. I get a big spike and a washer that'll have enough hole,
Right,
spray them orange, and pound them in the ground, and they're at dirt level, you know? At least we could find out where we're talking about. So those were approved, and then the notion that we would spend money every year for new trees so that we don't just have them all die at the same time. And I talked about how, from what I've known, living in places with parks, they go out of their way to have a whole range of ages so that when the old ones go, the middle-aged ones take their place and the youngsters
right.
can fill the gaps and stuff.
Also, you know, I was talking to you too, you know, we only used $5,000 of the facade grant this year.
Yeah,
So, and it's budgeted at 25, so, you know, there's $20,000 sitting there
and there's
for something.
for something, and then there's the wages we're not paying for the town manager too.
Yeah, but then
The facade
this is,
grant,
but, so that's something for budget.
What's that?
That's something for budget, Tom.
Yeah,
the facade grant doesn't seem like it seems like a very short leap to trees on Main Street.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is, we budgeted $25,000, we only used 5, so there's
Right,
$20,000 sitting there at the time, if the board decides to use that for something, you know.
so one of the things I've always, Neil, been bothered about was we brought up the notion of upgrading the kiddie playground surface. And to tell you the truth, my experience in the business world, sort of the consensus of the board when that was brought up some time ago is, well, we show we're doing some activity and we're trying to expedite something. But if some kid fell, whether warranted or not,
mhm.
I'm bothered by the fact we haven't been able to do anything about that. Are you working on that at all, or has that kind of gone away?
Yeah, since this is, the pea gravel, a lot of people like it. They don't like the black, rubber or green rubber. It's hotter.
Hmm.
It's, the wood mulch was one idea, but, the playground people says it has to be like the rubber mulch certified and clean and all this other kind of stuff, so you have to get specific type of mulch to fit in there to meet their criteria, which is expensive, so. Right now, I'm supposed to just chill that up and try to make it as, as cushiony as
Soft
possible.
as,
Soften it up, yeah.
As rocks can be.
soft as rocks can be.
Yeah.
Well, one rain and then one hot spell, it's cement again, so. I would think. Well, I'm bothered as a board member that I think we could be exposed here.
Well, they've been looking around at other towns. Some of them have wood chips, some of them have very little anything, and they're underneath a rock climbing apparatus,
Oh, wow.
which is like 15 feet high, and if the kids fell on that, I don't know how they would deal with, injuries, but
They bounce.
yeah. So they're not too concerned, I don't think.
I thought the insurance guys were bringing it up over and over.
The insurance guy brought it up, but he said, if I rototill it and make it softer, certain amount of cushion when he drops a bowling ball or whatever,
Oh, really?
that it'd be okay, so.
Well, okay, I guess. Maybe we don't make a recommendation.
Well, we don't have anything very high there. Some other towns have a lot more play equipment with a lot higher ceiling from
Yeah.
which to fall from, and they're thinking we don't have very high of a fall, so that they're thinking the rocks will be okay.
They signed off on paper to that effect.
No.
But as long as they haven't signed off on paper that it needs to be replaced.
Have they? Have they done that? I assume they did, but
I don't know if it was in the insurance write-up this year or not. I'll have to look. Because they talk about things and then sometimes they don't make it on paper.
Right.
yeah, paper is what matters. If it comes to that.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we're just drifting along on this. That'd be it. It would be nice to know if they wrote it up, though. So,
Mainly that would be a large part or a big chunk out of the park's budget, right?
Yeah.
Your budget, if you had to resurface that.
Well, if I had to resurface it, we'd have to talk about budgeting it for next year or whenever. It'd have to be a budget line item to be specifically addressed.
So probably based on what you find in the written form of the insurance rider for the town,
right,
that would be your impetus to put it in next year's budget or not.
Yeah, and then we gotta vote on whether they want it rock, do they want it
sure.
chips, rubber. A lot of the parents don't want rubber. They said they won't bring their kids over there to play. I don't know how that goes. Let me see if I can get a copy of that.
You know, I'd be real curious, like when I made that little trip to, it was Aspen, I believe, that have all the pictures of that playground, and that's all mulch. And I don't mind reaching out to their parks division and asking, if someone can tell me what type of mulch, how they went about
Okay.
finding it. I don't know if that would, that's the one really beautiful mulch area that I know of. I'll be traveling around a little bit, can look at other parks again, but a lot of them are going to synthetic surfaces, which are,
Yeah.
I don't see that being a viable thing here, a solid synthetic surface.
Oh, you mean
Oh.
like mats?
Yeah, like the rubberized play mats. I mean, they do that,
Really?
yeah, in a lot of places.
Oh, wow.
I mean, across the country.
Yeah.
The area I moved from in Florida, which has terrific
Yeah.
heat
Yes.
and sun. large areas in their town parks, especially in their splash zones and
Yeah.
whatnot, and under their playground equipment. It's, you know, I haven't been there for a number of years. I'd be interested to see what it looks like
Yeah.
now. And if it holds up there, I mean, I know it's more humid, but the sun intensity is still pretty tough.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know in the long run if that's something that should be recommended under anything that might be of a height. Or could like being slung off a merry-go-round.
Slung.
I don't know.
Boy, those
You
little
just-
kids, they go flying off that thing.
I know they do. It's
I-
kind of crazy.
I watched the little girl. I said something to her, and so she started pushing it real fast.
Yeah.
And she fell underneath it, actually. Her legs were underneath it.
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
no.
Yeah. There was enough room where she didn't get cut up or anything, and.
Kids are so brave, or stupid.
So the only thing written up on, paper document for parks and playground was protective coating on the, walking surfaces were deteriorating and crack. You need to monitor and repair as needed. Replacement is recommended. So I called the playground equipment company. They're sending me some decks, but I don't know if that's gonna be enough to replace all of them. They're all falling apart. The walking surfaces.
The elevated walking
Yes,
surfaces.
yes, on the playground equipment. So that's all that was written up. He did not write up the rocks, pea gravel this year.
Okay,
He did last year.
interesting.
I guess so my next question always goes back to budget. So is there, I mean, obviously from the notes that you sent us after your meeting with the board, and that was why I asked originally, they didn't, it was deferred, the yearly tree planting was deferred to future budget discussions. And was, I mean, I assume that doing anything to the surface that we had talked about in the last meeting and now in this meeting, the rock, the pebble surface, that wasn't even really a part of this discussion, right?
Well, it wasn't the board. I brought it up and it pretty much quickly got put down, as I remember. Yeah.
So so that says the plan is not to spend money on that in the remainder of this year. Do you have an idea of what the budget has in funds for the remainder of this year for the park service? Is it just to cover the things that normal maintenance things?
That'll be, Aaron, I think, still working on that. That'll be brought up at the, budget meeting
Workshop.
that we're having at the workshop.
So there's not a good cohesive budget that says this allows the parks to do this year, whether it's maintenance, mowing, whatever.
I still have a budget for water. Permit, pavilion, wood, poles are supposed to get done this year. And, that's it basically for any more repairs or anything, so.
What,
Yeah, but what you were talking about is if there's money left over this year for the things that we're talking about, you know, and that we really won't know until we get the budget thing started. Because we're gonna be doing the 24 budget, what we've got done so far in it, and then the 25 budget, and then we'll see what we're gonna do for the 26th.
I did think-
26th.
The notion of having a new line item for trees. I don't know if it was outright accepted, but it was kind of like not rejected, right? If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that seems to be the way to keep track of it, is we have separate funding, so it's not try and take money out of your maintenance budget to do it.
Yeah.
but there's no real other, you're saying then that when you go into budget talks, you'll filter out what, if anything, is left for recommendations of the Parks Committee outside of the budget for maintenance.
Yeah,
if there's anything left.
yeah. Yeah, and actually,
There's no, I've been told I gotta watch my Dallas. So,
yeah, I don't know what the sales tax has been like the last month or so.
It's held its own, but, you know, you're not gonna get your, you know, your figures monthly, you know, are gonna be 30 days behind everything, so.
Well, I don't know if it's just me, but I think the big elephant in the room deal is, you know, what does the town and the county and Silver Cliff need to keep pushing the housing thing forward? And, that's where a lot of the concern about funds was coming from earlier on this year, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Once Barry had his thing, and, you know, that's $100,000.
and that's kind of gone silent, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, because they didn't get the grant.
Right, yeah.
Oh, they didn't.
No, they didn't get the grant because it wasn't properly filled out. So now they have to apply the next grant cycle.
Which is
Couple
pretty,
months from, couple months, I think, from now.
yeah, September or something.
Grants are tricky.
Yeah, and grants, if Trump has his way, grants are gonna dry up. You know?
And
Yeah,
there's usually deadlines for filing for anything.
Yeah,
So tell me what,
look at the PBS, what he just did to them, you know?
enlighten me as to what you're talking about, the project for Barry thing.
Very keen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They're working on a workforce housing project.
yeah, and it was, are they still talking about it being on the south end of town?
Is
so it's
that,
gonna be in Silver Cliff.
yeah, Barry's is in Silver Cliff.
Yeah.
There was a different one they were talking about south of and west.
Yeah,
of.
that's the other one, which is grant money we did get for that.
So
yeah, the grant was just to get his 501(c) fiduciarily empowered organization together to surface, to function as a focus.
Right.
Yeah.
So why is Westcliff involved in the Silver Cliff, Barry Keene project?
Well, I think his organization is broader than that, right? It's trying to consolidate everything together, my
Well,
understanding.
yeah, but I mean, this town of Silver Cliff couldn't do it, you know, and the county can't do it. So here it is, they come to us, you know, to help them out, so. And it creates other problems too, and we're getting off subject on this, you know. You know, we gotta worry about what we're gonna have for the 26 budget, you know. And what's left on the 25 budget, which is basically, from the looks of it right now, it's gonna be nothing. It's gonna be, you know, we'll be spending more than what we bring in.
So then is our function as a committee to come up with just recommendations for the 26 budget, assuming that there's nothing that we can do in the remainder of 25? And I wanted to ask Neil, he said something about the posts on the Hermit Pavilion. Is that what I've been talking about, the railings?
No, I think the bottom, when that was built, the big tree trunk posts are flat on the cement. That's a boo-boo. Because water gets underneath them.
Yeah, yeah. And we've had problems ever since the thing was built.
So it's a bear cat to fix that. I don't know how you would do it. I mean, you could put temporary jacks in, pull a post out, cut an inch off, put some sort of
Metal.
metal
Yeah,
gizmo underneath
yeah.
it, which you can bolt to the floor.
Yeah, like a raised
Yeah.
metal platform, get it up. Oh, gosh.
Hey, Neil, when you mentioned post, you're talking about the pavilion post, I take it, yeah?
Van post?
Didn't you mention things you got in your budget? I thought you said the word post.
At the pavilion, at Hermit Pavilion.
Hermit Pavilion, yes, the wooden posts are rotted.
Yeah.
And they have been scheduled or working on getting replaced. There is budget in there for that this year, so that's it, that's my limit. I can't do anything else to parks, but I do need a thatching machine or a power rake, because now that I've got the grass growing and green, it's getting a lot of clippings and it's gonna end up choking it out if I
Yeah.
don't start, thatching that stuff up. So I also would like a top dresser because, every time they use the park, they're driving all over it, which puts ruts in the ground, and a top dresser would address trying to make it level again and instead of having all them ruts.
Now you're talking about,
Love.
the
Well,
bluff?
they, no, I got an issue today. They're gonna put bounce houses at Hermit Park for the sheriffs
Oh, tonight.
today.
Yeah, today.
It's gonna happen any minute now, but yeah, they start at noon, but, Memorial Park, they're out there doing bounce houses and tents, once or twice a year. Everybody thinks they gotta drive on them instead of
Here.
using carts or something, so. And it's inevitable, you drive out there and go, oh, I forgot table and plates. They go out, get table and plates, and then they come back, gotta drive on it again. Oh, I forgot a hose and a power cord, gotta go back out, come back in. So instead of, being discreet and
Right.
gentle on our parks, they just treat it like a driveway and, random access they can drive all over, so.
Yeah.
It ruins the stuff. They drive over my sprinkler heads. Sprinkler heads this year alone, I spent probably $3,000 on parts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember you saying that there was a problem with the sprinkler system in Memorial Park, that part of it needed repaired. Has that?
I
Is that-
repaired some of it, but there's more valves that are stuck or, leaking for some reason. I gotta tear into those. It's constant.
Right.
Ongoing.
And then manpower too.
It might work now, today, and the rest of the week, but then next week I might have 4 zones that just don't wanna work or working intermittently or have a leak that don't wanna shut off, so the bubbling up water everywhere.
So it's an old system and it's wearing out.
That would be,
And if you don't get the lines blown out real good,
We've
you get a
been,
little low area, then you gotta break next year, you gotta fix.
yeah, we've been blowing them out pretty
Yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that a long time ago.
Oh, and the first year I was here, they only did it for like a minute. I went, a minute's not gonna blow them long.
No,
So he wasn't too happy when I said, oh, it's gonna run 4 minutes per station with air pressure to blow it out properly. Or we're not doing it with you, you can get somebody else to do it. So I haven't had as many breaks.
Good. I'm glad you're here at the meeting, but do you have to go to watch these people? Or
I
you
got
guys-
2 other employees, they can get her done.
Good. All right. Okay, so I guess we're saying, who knows what the money is, but probably.
yeah.
So what about some of the other topics here? I had been down going to the bottom of my little list. I think I wrote up, Neil, that some of those fences you put in were working.
Yeah.
From what I saw, the ones by the toilet facilities and the bar
Oh, yeah,
seemed to work. But what I noticed was people cutting up from the parking lot, skipping the ADA ramp completely and just walking up the sod on the west end of the parking lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna put ropes back up, I think, because parking the trailer
Yeah,
on the grass and walking back and forth, they're blocking the steps going down. I told them leave that open for fire and emergency and normal traffic, for people to go see their stuff, and they block it. So then they have to walk around the grass or on the rocks or whatever, so, yeah, they're not being very mindful of traffic patterns, emergency routes, fire extinguisher.
You mean the vendors?
First aid kits.
Just the
vendors?
one vendor, the donut people, right?
No, there's 3 or 4 of them that,
They are.
because they move
Is it-
around.
I know they've got a ramp door that comes completely down, sits right onto the grass. You have to walk out onto the grass and walk up.
That one trailer, yeah.
yeah, I actually saw that and it was the end of the day and I didn't want to have too many people representing the town talking to them, but that one really struck me as a pretty egregious and silly burden on the grass that they should be aware of that. And I wonder if they could pull their trailer a bit to the north and so the ramp would.
Then they block the alley. And
Oh.
even the way it was, that tongue is sticking out in the alley, so the traffic has to detour around it.
I missed that.
Otherwise, it was, hey, heck, somebody could drive right into it, not even see that tongue.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it shouldn't be there.
When they're having events, I think there should be a standard on, what their emergency plan is, what their traffic route plan is, and what tent or whatever is gonna be their first aid, emergency response team or whatever that, can have people, if somebody got their hand stabbed, they didn't have no first aid kit. I guess some kids were playing with matches or something, had a fire, but they got that put out easy, you know? And then their little monkeys are always climbing around in the trees and breaking stuff.
Yeah, they're
God.
in the trees, all right, especially that big pine, yeah, by the.
Well, they try to get the other ones too and break them.
Get into the tree.
Well, these are the trees that are out in the grassy,
Right,
Slope.
right. Oh,
right at the top of the slope. And that is a
Oh,
very
yeah.
attractive climbing tree.
But I think it doesn't matter what park it is, if they're gonna have an event, they need to have certain things in place to, handle such emergencies or.
Could there be an absolutely designated space for a trailer that's not where they park it right now?
Well, they were gonna put that up over on Fourth Street, but I don't know why that didn't work out for them. And then they don't wanna be against the building because of the apartments that are there supposedly blocking their window. And when the windows are open, you know, they can hear all the noise from the apartment renters, and the renters don't wanna hear what's going on at the table, you know? So they don't wanna use the building, along the building.
You know, I mean.
And that's prime space.
yeah.
And, you know, several times, that whole park was completely filled up several times this year. So, you know,
Yeah.
you know, those renters, well, they're just gonna have to probably put up with
4
it.
hours and it's the middle of the day.
Yeah.
They should be awake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like whining and sniveling to me.
They also have another problem, you know, I don't even know who's in charge now, because I haven't heard from that one lady.
Well, I talked to her last time and she kind of didn't answer me, so I don't know who's in charge of those guys now.
Well, there's a group, so there's a small group.
Yeah,
Terry, I think it's Munson, she
Terry.
works at the fire department.
Yeah.
I believe she's on the group. There's like 3 or 4 others. And it seemed like one of the ladies was more dominant in barking orders and telling people where to go and what to do, than the rest of them. So I don't remember what her name was.
yeah, and I talked to Terry and she seemed to be, I don't remember her being that specific, but like, not me, I had the feeling.
Huh.
So I don't know who's in charge, but
What happened to Matt?
What happened to Matt? He was great.
he just up and quit, a week before the first,
Oh,
That was
wow.
the day before.
or the day before.
Great.
I mean,
He
it
was-
literally was.
There
I
was
don't
some
know what it
dispute.
was, but, you know, yeah.
That had to be
Arguments
some-
about where tents and things
Oh,
were gonna go
man.
and where they could set up and how they could do
Yeah.
things. They didn't wanna do it and they agree with it, so they've pretty much been doing what they want.
Wow.
Well, we had sort of kind of a plan to start with Matt.
We did.
And that's what upset them. They didn't wanna go with
They
it.
didn't like
You know,
plan.
something that's-
Oh.
Well, I thought that was the reason that they were allowed to use the park, is they had agreed to the conditions. Is that not the case?
I don't know, but I
Yeah.
tell you what, when next
Good
year, when
point.
it comes up to it, you know, they're gonna have to,
Well, maybe we should let him know that now.
well, the board will have to do that.
Reiterate.
Well, what would the board be telling them that would
Tell-
improve it then?
Tell them that we're gonna be down there and we will tell them where they're gonna set up. They're going to need to have first aid equipment.
Well, they need someone that's qualified, that can administer first aid and stuff.
Well, yeah, they may have to have one of the ambulances down there. And then that pulls the ambulance away from what
Well,
it's supposed to be doing.
I think anybody that's qualified can do it. They just need to have a designated spot or somebody so that visitors know this is my first date or tent or whatever.
Did they sign an agreement with us?
Yeah.
They did?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't know if that stuff was on the agreement.
Right,
No.
but it sounds like all this other stuff probably would be covered somewhat in the agreement, and if,
Well, the main thing was the layout.
right.
Right, yeah.
And
And
so
so if they're,
we talked a lot about the north parking lot. And then the east parking lot is kind of overflow, but it immediately got used the very first week.
That's where they want to be. They don't want to be anywhere else.
Right.
Which we didn't want them there because of traffic and other reasons, but that's where they want to be.
Well, I went to the first, I haven't been to the farmers markets, but I did go to the first one and the second one. And the first one, I really noticed where everybody was setting up. And they did set up along 4th Street. And I can understand your concerns, but it seemed like it got a lot of people right there and it didn't seem to take up much more space than car parks, cars parked along that same area. I don't know if you have a different vision of that, but when the cars are pulled straight in, it looks like the same space is occupied.
It is.
So if that keeps people from tracking all around, that seems to be a very usable space. And I just think we should go back to that original design, include that area along 4th Street and propose that for next year. And when you said that we would administrate it, did you mean the Parks Committee or the Board of Trustees?
Board of Trustees. We don't want to get into that,
No, and we,
because then
We
somebody will
suggest-
go to Paul and they'll cry and, well, and
Yeah,
You know.
they already did, and Paul told them to do whatever they wanted to do.
oh, great.
so, and there's the other problem,
There
you
you
know.
go.
We can, each one of the board members can say something different,
Right,
but who's really the one that's got the authority, so.
well, you could argue that we don't have anybody functioning in town manager or town coordinator or whatever we want to
Right.
call it. And
Right.
They could deal with that sort of thing, I would think.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of what's good for the park, it's what you say.
it's up to Neil.
People want to set up right along the road. In fact,
Right, when we
tomorrow
kicked
guy-
somebody out that first time,
Yeah.
Well, they're
tomorrow
setting up in
guy,
the grass too,
Is he on
trying
the
to get him
street?
to get off of the grass.
He was the first time. They
Okay.
told him to get off there because he's completely blocking everything, so.
Wow.
well, what I'm saying now could be off the subject, but my view would be, you would, as a maintenance parks guy, have a lot to say about how it's done, but then if we did have this other position, they would be the one that would have to enforce it. But we haven't done anything on the board. We tried to interview, right, 4 or 5 months ago for a coordinator, and that nobody applied except one guy, right?
I think as long as they keep, the handicap and the crosswalks, the crosswalk going across Main Street was blocked also.
Oh, yeah.
Several times.
Every Friday, they block it.
Is it?
It is.
Yep, and I'll go down there and tell them they can't be there and try to move, and of course they get bent out of shape, but.
Shouldn't the police tell them they can't be
Well,
there?
there again, the police don't have the manpower to go down there and put a deputy to walk around the farmer's market,
Isn't the crosswalk farther east?
It's on the southeast corner, so going across Main Street over to the kitchen place.
Right.
And the northeast corner.
Yep,
They blocked that thing.
yep.
And as you talk about 4th Street and the vendors there, you got emergency equipment comes up through there, fire trucks. You got the county with all of their equipment in and out of there. All you gotta do is have some small children running around that the parents aren't watching. All of a sudden,
Most of them that have run around are in the tree.
Yeah.
yeah. They were. Or jumping off the pavilion,
Yeah, rolling down the grass.
rolling down the grass.
That's kids.
And I just go over and say, the dogs, use this area.
Yeah.
They don't
They
care.
don't care.
Well,
Mom washes my clothes.
those setups that were on the east parking lot, their opening of their little venues was on the sidewalk side.
Yes.
Well, they pull it back a little ways because of the curb height,
Mm.
the table makes it too low. So they pull their tents and everything away from the sidewalk so that you can step down and
Okay.
come over to the car. And they don't like being close together, you know, we're in Colorado, they gotta have their space. I don't know if it's still COVID thing or what, but the tents are not touching back to back. They gotta have their space, so then they gotta have all their other stuff around them, you know. Some of them have to have power, some of them have to have water.
Well, after all this discussion, does this committee and you especially, Neil, do you feel like that Just Price Park is the correct place for the farmer's market?
Well, trying to get target on my back.
And just a general, I mean, given where they were before and given this situation, can they not be where they were before? I'm not pushing it one way or the other. I actually thought after the first one, the activity level and the vibrancy in the park was good. But I didn't.
I don't know how the foot traffic paths and stuff were and how easy it was for them to get around. I heard the dirt is not nice for strollers, you know, stuff like that, that some people couldn't get in there with walkers or wheelchairs or stuff
In that
like
parking lot.
down in the dirt, yeah.
Right.
So that they want to be up at the park. It's more visible right from the highway.
So if they could just be held to a certain agreement
Yeah.
Right.
and really, you know, I don't know if it's each week as a vendor shows up to hand them, remember? These, we've agreed to this. And the use of the park is dependent on you comply.
Right. Right.
Something,
And next year's in jeopardy if you don't.
yeah, year by year, if this,
Yeah.
you know, tears up the investment the town made in the park, then it's not working.
So
But
when we had the agreement with Matt, we didn't know. I didn't think how things were gonna work up, so maybe before next year, we need to take whatever agreement we had and add the whole by the ways to it.
We're trying to get more fence, you know, that black fence.
Yeah.
which is great.
Because the kids are just darting through the ropes, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the dogs with leashes are just,
Right.
they're letting them go out there wherever and wrapping around your plants and ripping them out and stuff, so,
You got the bucks for that?
no. I spent the bucks already on 5 boxes of that stuff that's there now.
Well, it certainly has helped
Yeah.
the areas where it is, and certainly Garden Club appreciates that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but I know the rest of the park, it can't be neglected.
Right. Well, I got a note to that effect.
And it isn't just from the vendors being there, it's from the visitors, you know, they all gotta have 3 or 4 dogs and, you know, it takes a toll, urinating on everything, taking a dump on everything, their leashes dragging everywhere, or they just let them run,
Right.
Let them run.
digging holes, trying to bury their seed or find a stick or,
That's a park, I'm afraid, huh?
you
I did confront a couple people about dogs supposed to be on a leash, you realize, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, my
Next.
guess is we need to try to have a better plan for next year with their involvement up front, I think.
Yeah.
We're
And-
still gonna fix that little bit of cement that by the bathroom that's got all them pits in it from the water hitting it, and messing it up. That's, should be getting fixed sometime this month.
Oh, good, good.
So,
You just gotta do epoxy cement over the top.
no,
You're gonna pour the whole
they'll
thing.
pull it, pour it
And
in.
this time here, they need to put something over it. They left at 1 o'clock. They put a piece of plastic over it, and when they left at 1 o'clock, they took the plastic with them, and then it rained. And I said, here it comes, right off the bathroom roof,
Oh,
right
Plus
on.
frost in the morning, jump, cause it's still pretty chilly out.
Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
The dew came dripping off
oh
of it.
gosh.
yep.
But hopefully that won't happen this time. They'll fix it right. So it's a different
Good.
company.
All right, I think at the budget meeting, maybe
Got a
we
lot of
can,
stuff to talk about.
what's that?
Got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes, indeed. And I think that fencing, gotta get more fenced, that's for sure. Right. So, what about trees?
Okay, the trees, the suggestions I'm bringing quickly to put it in an overview. There are a lot of recommendations by the researchers on trees and planter of trees. And as you can tell, I get most of my information from CSU
Mhm.
because they have the best agricultural extension, as is thought of throughout the state of Colorado. And there are there are a few things that we could look at. And like I alluded to earlier, we're in that above 7,500 feet sort of cutoff of what will survive here and what won't. So going on, starting with what has already survived here is, I think, always a good plan. What's out there, what's doing well, what's surviving at least. And starting our recommendation with that. With that in mind, it's also nice to do natives if we're going to plant any trees. However, there are certain ornamentals that would make nice groupings. And one of the recommendations coming out of the agricultural department is when you do trees in groupings, it's aesthetically pleasing. And if you vary those trees, if one tree were to become diseased or have an issue, you won't lose the entire grouping. So I think that's an overview of some of the things we should think about. Whether we want to go completely native trees, and that limits us. And there's other Colorado landscape trees that work at certain altitude. Do we want to, we're not going to plant that many, but are we going to have a design, for each of these two spots that we
Yeah.
originally designated? And would you like to see, as a group, us to start with just the natives? And, we'll have what is our source? And most of our sources are downhill. Even the trees that show up in our local nursery come from lower elevations, but they're trees that can easily survive here.
So the Brady Bunch in Salida probably knows about altitude trees, I would think. wouldn't
They do, and there's a couple of links to some really great tree farms that I sent you guys. And I don't mind making a road trip to check it out. I've talked to some of them on the phone. The key question that I didn't ask is who would be planting? Do they have a source for planting trees that would work in this area?
Yeah.
Because I think
Because
we
you've had-
need that.
You've had problems.
Well, I think, the one thing we could do in this committee, when we don't really have a true direction, is some of these modules that they're like 15 minutes. They're super informative about how to design, what species of trees work well, what the problems are, and how to plant. And I think if we're educated as a group, it will help us as we go forward. I don't want to waste a lot of time, your time watching videos. If I can figure out a way to send them to you at home, or do you think something like a 10, 15-minute video specific to landscape planning is something this committee would want to watch and then talk about?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I guess if we're talking about trying to advance things, we ought to know what we're talking about, so. Ought to be able to fit it in. By the way, you had emailed me about, could I get into that CSU stuff, and the answer was no.
Yes, and since then, I found that I can download a YouTube video that now you have to get through the commercial that comes
Yeah.
on at the beginning, but then it goes into exactly the same lecture.
Okay,
So it's public domain at that point, and I could try, I sent one to you, and I don't know if you had time to, because it was kind of the YouTube,
Yeah, I saw that one.
that.
I
Yeah,
don't think you sent one to me, did you?
No, I didn't, I thought I
yeah,
wasn't
both
gonna,
the ones you sent me, I could open.
I just wanted to make sure they were openable.
Yeah.
And, but we could also, if we could hook up to this guy from the computer, we could also watch it as a group and, further discussion about it. And we could do that in our next plant meeting if you wanted to, or, have
With
it here.
popcorn.
Yeah, movie night. But I mean, it's really quick and it's pretty concise. I mean, not all of it applies to us, but it's good background information.
Well, again, I can only speak for me, but I could easily watch them.
Yeah.
I
They're
just
not long.
cut into my Netflix time in the evening.
Yeah. Would you prefer to watch them individually? Or here?
I'm watching here.
I think that works.
Okay,
So I could pick a few topics and say,
Yeah.
which of these do you want me? And they all come with printed materials as
so you
well.
talked to Melanie about
Yeah.
hooking up to
Wait,
this.
I probably need to work with her one-on-one to get it to where we're not wasting time trying to set it up.
Something else on the trees, I'd like to, it didn't dawn on me till actually today. A lot of these pine trees get a lot of sap all over, they drip everywhere. And they drip on the sidewalks, people are gonna get it tracked into their stores, so we gotta be careful with that. And it also drips all over their cars, when they get it big. So I'd like to stay away from the pines that would cause that problem. And besides that, if you put pine trees on the south side,
Are we talking the park or along Main Street?
along Main Street,
Ah.
pines on the south side, they're gonna shade the road all year long. And in the middle of winter,
Right.
you don't
Yeah,
want
and we're
that,
gonna work on
do
it.
you, Neil?
It'll be an ice rink. It'll be nothing but ice.
We're already trying to fix that.
So you're suggesting that for anything lining Main Street, it would be a deciduous tree?
Right.
Yes.
And, I was thinking
How
about that.
about a
the other
fig
day.
tree, little one, so that we can move it?
I look around different towns that plant trees. They hardly ever use pine trees along roads, right?
Right.
I mean, I can't think of any place up
Right.
in Summit County or
Yeah,
Leadville or it's all deciduous. I noticed most of the recommendations were pines, which might be
that's
fun for the
that's
park.
from the natives.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah, the
I
native
was
stuff,
kind
yeah.
of going, okay, so let me give you.
So I have an
some
example of
deciduous
pine tree
trees.
leaking all over stuff. I got a trash can and a sidewalk over at the bluff, the ladies' bathroom side, that tree, I don't know what's in that tree, but it's been dripping
Really?
all year bad, and I've sprayed it twice to see if we can't get whatever bugs eating it or causing that dripping to stop, but
Huh.
it's also affecting the picnic table there.
Huh, wow.
So here's the one,
And then
small.
Back to trees, in your designated spots over at Memorial Park.
Huh?
That is prime location by that west pavilion for bounce houses and stuff. They have to have electricity to try to get
Ah.
those hooked up.
It's what?
Prime location for bounce houses and other things that need electricity. Because they don't wanna try to have to run a cord too far.
Right.
Well, I can't
And
remember.
that's where they back in there to unload their tables and stands and.
Well, one of my items here was the way I worded it, do we have priority areas within the two zones? I always thought we did, and it would be mostly closer to that loop sidewalk and then the north existing boundary. of the existing play and not necessarily over by that pavilion.
Well, they still gotta be able to get in there, move in and out.
Well, we leave an alleyway for them, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. They would get in how? How would they get in now, actually?
Well, by the West Pavilion, there's a gate there. So
Yeah.
that's where they back in and try to unload bounce houses, dunk tanks, tables, barbecues, that are on wheeled barbecue pit type things. I don't let them put it on the ground because it burns the grass. Tables, other events, they want to set up volleyball, believe it or not.
Well, we measured all that, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've gone from Main Street to Memorial now.
Yeah,
And so are we talking about we're not talking about planting trees in Memorial yet, except in the designated areas, which are not close to anything other than the playground.
right, that's where those two areas were,
Does
yeah.
that work, designated?
Yeah,
Yeah, and we talked about that last meeting, kind of at length, to just put them, if we were going to add any trees in Memorial Park, then it would be on the north end of the existing playground. And then if the playground were ever expanded, it would expand past the trees so that the trees would be in the center of the eventual larger playground if it ever happened. That was our plan going forward as I saw it.
yeah, and then we did say we could curve around the curvaceous sidewalk that goes around the merry-go-round, but not to the point of obstructing everything else.
Or infringing in any of the open space
Yeah,
at this point. So that was what was discussed about Memorial. But going back for a minute to Main Street, is there still a push at this point that this committee make recommendations for anything that would go back in on Main Street?
well, we've gone around on this, and then I've got input from just other people. The one problem is salt killing the trees in the first place. So I gotta wonder if there are containers that we can afford and trees that will survive in a container that are maybe not such monsters, but more bushy.
Well, like Neil said, and then we could move them. That's necessary.
Yeah, because you have a shade issue. The shade really impacts that street in the wintertime. Any shade will cause lots of icing,
Yeah, including just the branching of a deciduous tree.
any tree, any shade.
Well, are we talking mostly on the north side of Maine? I
For
mean,
new trees, mostly, I think they
Yeah.
are.
South side
Paul?
is where the ice is.
yeah,
Right. So the north side is not an issue because it gets a lot of sun, but with the deciduous, with the pine, that would still be an issue there too.
Yeah, I wouldn't
But the
suggest.
problem is you've got a 3-foot square to plop the roots down in, and
That's
that's
the
not,
only place that gets water.
that's not a great situation.
It really isn't, but if you had a container tree, every container would have to be watered, and you're looking at shelf life of the tree of 10 years, 8 to 12 in a container,
And
that's
every
it.
year you gotta move.
And every year you've got to water all through.
move them. What?
We'll only move them if they're causing problems on the south side, possibly.
I personally feel like a container tree is really bad. It's just a constant maintenance, expensive option. I just don't think trees on that south side is a good idea.
Yeah, I guess that's,
I think that's where we're headed, and that's where,
south side,
on the south side, no trees,
no trees, yeah.
yeah.
Well, the board's already said, or especially Paul, he definitely wants trees on the south side too.
He's the one that needs to see these modules of education.
Well, we make
Sorry.
recommendations, right? And
Right.
Yeah,
the board can take them or leave them. What do you say about trees on the south side, Neil?
On Main Street, no, south or north.
South Oregon.
I've already brought that up. I brought that up 4 or 5 years ago.
Well,
Yeah.
because even the trees on the north side is causing icing on the sidewalk for the businesses there, and they're having trouble trying to keep the sidewalk clear.
And it cuts down on the sidewalk. You know, on
But it's
sidewalk
hot.
space.
Well, you know, the town tries to promote itself as a tourist destination, which it seems to have some success at least. I
Yeah.
mean, Jesus, the traffic on the weekends,
Oh my
crazy,
God.
pardon me. But, and there's always gonna be the downside of it. It's-
Right.
Mhm.
So if the rest of the board goes along with Paul, I don't know, I mean, it seems to me, if we're gonna do some sort of compromise, given the town board, and I think in spite of the ice, I think a lot of merchants like the shade because
Yeah.
people hang around, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Well, if you want shade, what about a tarp or canopy over Main Street during the summer?
Gone with the wind.
They've got some that are pretty tough that usually last. It depends on how it's, the roofs should block some of that wind.
Well, remember when they put those banners up across Main Street so long time ago? And they were actually the old gas station there,
Yeah.
our Western Star building. It was actually doing damage to the building because the wind would just
pull the bolts out.
pull the bolts almost right out. It loosened up the telephone pole. It was moving about a foot when the wind would blow. So,
I got a feeling that one probably won't fly,
I mean, it's a good idea, but you know, the
So
So you
wind.
put a more solid pole in where the tree box is instead of the tree. And then you could decorate that pole as a fake tree. Also, you know what I mean? If you want
Yeah.
color and greenery. I've seen that on them before.
Yeah, in fact, Ace Hardware had one set up in there, as a display up there inside the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked quite nice.
And then you can change the colors out for the seasons, right? Christmassy color.
You paint them.
I ain't painting them. No, it's a quick connect. You pull out one decoration
Oh,
piece and put in the
you want
other.
another one?
such things exist.
No.
And then you'd have to,
It's all for attraction and looks.
Say again?
It's for attraction and looks. There's tons of things out there for that kind of atmosphere.
But if you had tarps, then you wouldn't look up and see the mountains, would you?
You really can't.
well, what about, I mean, I'm not in favor. I think there'd be a lot of issues, but I'm certainly open. It's not something I would propose, but what about the occasional like triangular sail that provides some
Like those, yeah.
shade, but not total obstruction of views and that sort of thing. You can step forward and be in the shade, step back and look at the view, like it's triangular one way and then try. But I just think they'd be hugely expensive and hard to secure. And, you know, I mean, it's done. When I was doing the research for all the different parks, there were just beautiful and shading the playgrounds. There were beautiful types of shade cloths.
Yeah, they've got some more,
pavilions,
yeah.
gorgeous, but I mean, I'm sure those are gonna be
Yes.
amazingly expensive.
Yeah.
That's what you could put over the playground.
Exactly, and I think that would be a suggestion I would further if you need shade in the playground, or because where we're proposing to plant the trees, primarily it'll throw shade into what is now a grassy area to the north because of the track of the sun. But you know, some of those types of shade structures over the playground areas would be, I think, you know, something that would be very serviceable and probably necessary in the summer sun. But then you you know, it falls back on your shoulders to put it up, take it down, store it through the winter kind of thing. So. you
Do
know,
some of
there's-
those stay up all winter?
They can, and you can have, but, you know, your structure.
Those
for
are more
our
expensive ones too.
You're right,
probably.
and you could go with the materials that are semi-permeable, like
Right,
Sunbrella,
right.
which give you different degrees of sun protection and different degrees of letting things come through, like rain or, but still provide shade. So, I mean, as you were pointing out, Neil, you know, the possibilities are endless.
They
It's
are.
what can this town do?
And what has the trustees told us they want? Trees.
Yeah, and our original plan that they accepted talked about trees, and
Right.
that's why the zone. Is there a magic marker there, Neil?
Nope, I don't see one.
I'm so used to being in meetings where we had a lot of visuals, and we don't.
But the trees, it's gonna take years to provide
Yeah,
adequate shade anywhere, anyway.
Well, like I say,
That's true.
you can't win the lottery if you don't play. So if we're gonna have shade trees, we gotta start someplace. I mean, I drive by there quite a bit and you see the people huddled under the trees that do exist.
Yeah.
And I've seen them huddled later in the year when the sun's lower, but still hot, on the north side of the bathroom, you know?
Right. So we're back to talking about Memorial Park.
I think we have gone back to Memorial.
Yeah, I think we, you know, if we're gonna make a recommendation, are we supposed to be making a recommendation based on your conversations with the Board of Trustees for Main Street? Or not really?
Well, they do want Maine, but I don't think it's feasible. I mean, if you plant a tree and it does eventually grow to shade, you got problems with dripping sap or stuff onto the cars, onto the sidewalk. You got visual blockage from the mountains, from the sun melting off the snow and such, right? The cars, a lot of times, they drive by there, knock the branches and stuff off. I gotta cut them way up high. So the roots tear into the pavers because they're seeking water, they're starving for water.
So should our focus then be, reminding the board what the problems will be and to reconsider their stance on trees on down Main Street?
I think so. I mean, if you plant the tree there, like he was saying, it blocks some of your traffic ability because that tree is now taking up space that people were walking past one another and they can't do that. It's just like when they put the tables and chairs out, you know, you funnel everything down to a little narrow.
Just a lollipop over there. You know, they've got the spot where there used to be trees there, and they just asphalted them in because they put tables out there. So you gotta have a way of walking around.
Gave them more room.
Yeah.
And they can see the mountains and stuff sitting at them tables versus with the trees there, you can't.
Well, it's not the only view of the mountains in the whole town, though.
No, but that's where they're sitting and eating.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me on the north side, if there's gonna be trees anywhere, that's the side, because
There is
you know,
some.
it shades the business places and.
And that's where the sidewalks are also 2 foot narrower than the south side.
There is some trees there. Some of them are dying because of no, not enough water.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to get.
Now,
We need to
do you guys
inject
water
water
at all?
down into the,
Well, that one guy actually has put a drain pipe
oh, you did, that's what you need.
down into it, and he just pours water into it all the time. And that tree actually looks good in front of the village shop.
Yeah. I don't remember how deep that was. It was only a foot or so.
No, it wasn't that deep, yeah.
It wasn't very deep.
Do you guys water the trees at all?
No. It's the
And you get-
responsibility of the store owner.
Do they know that?
Yes.
And you
They don't
also
do
get the same situation of people going out there and putting flowers and everything around the trees. So now what happened? The tree, the water comes down right off and right onto the sidewalk. Nothing gets down into those roots.
No.
And then they start looking for, like you said, water. So what happens if we get them too close to a water line down there?
Well, other towns have trees.
Yeah,
It's not
other
like
towns have trees, yeah.
Well, other towns have different areas that they plant the trees in. Sometimes there's a whole strip of grass between the street and the sidewalk where the trees are. I mean, we just, I don't see in this town that there's physical space for trees. And it's like I said, the only way that I can see it viable is to take, and it's hugely expensive again. It was what every architect has suggested, is you take a parking space at the end of each block and bring a
Yes, that's what
peninsula
Salida's done.
of dirt, so the tree has a way to grow and has water to it.
Canyon's done that as well.
And it's a beautiful look,
In
and I
fact-
would say that this, I would really say that if, as a responsibility of this committee, we give them an option that would work and an option that wouldn't work. And say, you know, here's what you're asking for trees along this street, the way, and then if you're planting deciduous trees and they're big and they eventually grow, I mean, you've got leaves everywhere and detritus and what have you. So
Needles,
just
leaves.
prepare, you know, here's the pros and cons, here's our recommendation. Do with it as you will. I think we need to have a plan going forward of what we can hand over to the board of trustees.
If you add a peninsula, that's going to also add shade, and it's gonna inhibit
Take away
snow
parking.
removal.
Right.
It's gonna what?
Inhibit snow removal.
I'm
Well,
sorry, I
on
have
there
to.
is all the objections to trees and very little
I have
enthusiasm
the
for them
appointment
all.
I had to,
What's that?
I had a doctor appointment I had to make, so I have to get.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, now,
This is what the, 22 master plan showed for Main Street, coming out like this. And then putting trees all the way out there. Actually, they were making Main Street very, very narrow. And then we're gonna lose almost, probably half their parking spaces. And you got problems getting around here because if somebody brings an RV or a trailer or something in,
Trucks that deliver groceries.
trucks will do, yeah, all the service vehicles.
Well, yeah, cause all them stores and restaurants there, they're getting supply trucks.
Yeah, down the alley, aren't they?
No,
Oh,
but it
you
takes,
can't really get into the alleyway to make a delivery.
and Randy,
some of them can, but not all of them.
Yeah.
and I've seen that, but basically you're taking up, you could do it in the space of a parking space at the end of each.
No, these, this
Well, I'm
is,
saying that,
this
but
is
I know,
this is an angle. This is parallel parking.
oh, taking away,
So you'd be losing all these spaces here. See, that's all angle and that's all parallel parking.
Yeah.
So you're gonna lose half your parking
well, if you go with that.
if you were to go with this.
But I'm saying another option is just at the end of each block, but it is, to me, in my mind, it's no different than having a car parked there. So if a delivery truck comes up and there's cars parked on them, how do they handle that? They stop in the middle of the street and offload.
The big cities, they just plug the road up
Right,
and everybody bitches and hits the horn and the guy flips them off. That's what.
yeah,
That's what I
well,
used to do. You
so,
don't make a spot for me to
But
deliver.
that blocks your view again and blocks shade.
again, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think it should go in the pros and cons. Here's what here are a couple of options. Basically, we're not suggesting that you do this, but if the Board of Trustees as a whole determines they want to spend this kind of money to have trees down Main Street, here are a couple of ways to do it. That's one way. The islands at the end is one way. to sacrifice sidewalk space.
And according to our rules, you've only got to leave it 42 inches wide for pedestrians. Got news for you. You stand next to me and you measure it, it's more than 42 inches, shoulder to shoulder.
ADA says it's gotta be 3 feet each direction.
Well, ADA's even changing their rules.
5, yeah, that's 5 feet.
You know,
man.
they're talking about it may be 5 feet now that you have to have completely unobstructed.
Yeah,
You've got to have bump outs now. If you have sidewalks that aren't wide enough for 2 wheelchairs to pass each other, you gotta make a little bump out thing every certain amount of feet
so they
that
can
you-
pass.
so they can pass each other.
Sounds to me like nobody on this committee wants trees on Main Street.
I would love to have trees on Main Street. I don't think this town could ever afford to do it correctly. So there's no point in doing it halfway and spending the money on trees that aren't gonna survive and cause more problems than they solve.
What tree is over there by Sugarloaf?
Yeah,
That thing,
that poor thing, that poor little tree that should have been.
I did actually take a picture and identify it. It's some sort, I could let you know. Again, I'd have to look it
We're
up.
constantly trimming it.
It's ridiculous.
Some people like it, but it's always growing branches into your walking space.
Yeah.
And then when you trim it, it looks,
It's only got, if the tree's up here, it's been topped off of it, and you got one great big branch that comes up this way. And it's a very,
eyesore looking
it's,
weird.
well, it's getting better. It actually looks a lot better
Well,
now.
now that, yeah.
That you
now
guys have been
it's getting-
taking care
well,
of.
it's getting a little water too. We do water them once in a while when it's super dry. But I believe all the businesses have been reminded that they're supposed to take care of everything in the sidewalk that's in front of their place,
Yeah.
all the way down to the curb, including cleaning the curb. So if the trees or plants or planters are there, they're supposed to maintain those as well. Pull the weeds out of the cracks, things of that nature.
Did you notice I cleaned up in front of my house?
I think it's no, it's not. Never mind. It wasn't that. That's what's in front of the courthouse is the Tarshan honeysuckle. The multi-branch one on the southwest corner before. It's just a shrub tree.
Oh,
Well, seeing shrub trees are gonna take up
even more.
more sidewalks.
What about the trees alongside the theater?
Those are Mancana ash.
Oh, the ones you can't get.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Well, they're happy.
They are, but they're not, I mean,
They're getting a lot of water. Water comes off that roof,
Mhm.
hits the sidewalk and runs in there. And they're getting more water than a lot of the other trees.
And the reason why they had to slope it that way is because the water was coming down and getting back into the theater.
Mm-hmm.
and those trees are supposed to be between 30 and 50 feet tall. And in mature environment where they get the roots,
Mhm.
space and water.
So they're
And of course, they'll
midgets.
never get there. But
They're midgets, huh?
Yeah, they're kind of midgets, but they're good. They do what, if we could get those, it wouldn't be bad. But I haven't found any in the western part of this. So, I'm happy to start the process of saying, if you want trees along Main Street for us to hand over to the Board of Trustees, here are several options, that being one, the one I suggested being one, anything else and then the pros and cons of each. And it's the recommendation, given the pros and cons, that we not plant trees along Main Street.
What about the fake trees? There's some towns that have nothing but fake trees and they don't require maintenance. They don't require water.
Well, I have no experience with fake trees.
And they look good all year long. They're not susceptible to bugs.
Just how expensive are they
I
and
don't
how
I don't know.
would it, I mean, if it were a fake evergreen tree, at least it wouldn't look stupid in the middle of winter with greenery.
Right, right.
Which, but I just don't know. I have nothing.
You wouldn't want a palm tree on Main Street, no.
Still trying to find that tree. I know I took a picture of it. But is it a Carolina? No. But it's never, that tree that you were asking me about in front of Sugarloaf, I mean, that's never gonna be a tree either, a true tree.
Right.
It's just gonna be what it is.
Which is a maintenance every month type thing.
And like in Canyon City, because they're lower and warmer, they can put in the Bradford pears, which are really pretty and turn, you know, they're a deciduous tree and they're just purple during the fall.
And Main Street on Canyon City's a lot bigger than our poor street,
Yeah,
you know?
you know, a lot of, there are places, is it Steamboat? I'm trying to remember other resort towns, but there are places where they've brought this situation out, planted trees, and Main Street's one way.
Yeah, but we've already been down Main Street being one way 20 years ago. And,
Yeah, even more recently
In
than
fact,
that.
if I remember right, they actually tried it for a couple of weeks. And it was a disaster.
It takes longer than that to get people used to a change.
Oh, yeah. What was that thing?
And then the other problem is, where does the other directional traffic go?
Well, that's it. Do you want a semi running down in front of your house?
Well, I'm not arguing for one way.
You know, I mean, because that's gonna be one of the roads that they're going to have to use, that and Rosita. You know, all that nice work they did on Rosita. Those semis will tear that thing up in no time.
Well, I think it's just another one of those options if you want trees. We don't recommend it as a committee, but if you want trees, consider this, which they won't consider, and then that'll be off the table.
Well, if you've got the energy to write it up, please do so.
Well, I think I have the energy to start it, but I, again, need the feedback, like from you. Well, this won't work because, and I can put it in con. The pros are, you know, trees on Main Street, shade and greenery and cooling and all the things we know trees to do. Those are the pros. The cons are, it's almost impossible to accomplish here.
Have at it.
All right. And then the other thing that will be on my list to do is to pare down these lists and pare down the topics of the different modules that we can look at together here in this committee and send it out to everybody and see what you're really interested in knowing and seeing.
Well, I'm certainly interested if we're gonna, well, let me back up a second. I think, Neil, you're of an opinion, this is not the time of year to plant trees.
Well, that would be up to the tree professionals, you know, an arborist or somebody who knows this area. Winter conditions, when is the best time to plant a tree? Your tree goes into shock just from planting it,
Sure.
transplanting it. So what is the time it takes to come out of shock, start a growing season, and then be able to handle a cold winter?
2 to 3 years for most trees. They go through a period of, the course I was in, they say a pouting period, where they just have to regenerate the 90% of the root structure that they lost in transplanting. I think that tree in front of Sugarloaf is a honey locust.
Is it?
Water, 14 days.
It's gotta be more than 14 days on some of those trees, right? And then,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
you gotta
well-
figure out how much per gallon or how many gallons per week. And if it's a small watering area, you can't put but 5 gallons at a time there, or 4 gallons or something.
Then you gotta fight if there's cars down Main Street parked already.
Well, I gotta either go early in the morning or,
Yeah,
do
when
it.
you do the bathrooms and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And any stressed tree is really, and every tree put in a hole in a sidewalk is a stressed tree. So any stressed trees are really open to disease and pests.
Well, I think we agreed.
Yeah.
That you're willing to try to write up the pros and cons, yeah?
And yeah, and just make that as our mission to get those lists with everybody's objections and everybody's thoughts and all of that together as something we can turn back over.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking that we would present anything at the next
No,
board meeting.
no,
No,
I think it's
But
gonna
we-
take a while
Yeah,
for
We
us to
do
get to
need
that
to-
point.
to inform them that we are thinking about
We're
it for
working,
next year.
yeah, that we're working on it in time for them to consider budgetary
Yeah, yeah.
considerations. Yeah.
well, the other thing I had on the list was, given those two zones in Memorial Park, if we are gonna plant trees next year, well, then you're gonna try to define what trees would be viable, yeah?
Yeah.
My thought is, the reason I was looking for magic markers, we got the two zones, and we left that space for a walkway to any future park, playground, that we would plant trees to the right of it and to the left of it and work our way toward the extremes.
Right.
Because those would be a good place for shade to develop, and I had always been an advocate of shades, trees, and patterns, so that it protects in the morning and the afternoons.
But the documents I gave you, I mean, are really worth looking at. And as far as that, you could just say, well, what about this? What about that? And I can look up or even contact, ask the expert at Colorado State University, what about this for this location, this rainfall, this
Mhm.
altitude? And get back and make a really good plan, something that would really work. What would they, if they suggest varied trees and we want, say, we've chosen as a committee in each of those areas, one or two big centerpiece trees, then what else would work around it that might give us, a visual beauty or a community of trees that would work? Those are,
And we do have, at the parks, we do have the luxury of it's,
ground.
I'm sorry?
Earth and
Well,
ground.
it's earth, it's open spaces, it's gonna get plenty of water, cause it's a sprinkler system there, so.
But it only waters the surface. The tree roots don't get it. That's why we have to manually water the trees at Just Price and at the Bluff.
Yeah,
Well, most of our trees here are really not deep root trees. They're spreading root trees, even our conifers. And they say that watering, actually, the best way to water any of those trees, especially in emergency drought situations, is to put a drip line out to, a coil soaker hose, essentially, out to the drip line of the tree, because that's where the roots are. And it's not a deep, you see that when they blow over, they're not deep. And so deep watering is, while it's not harmful, it's certainly not the same as watering the entire root structure. And that's the problem with newly planted trees and trying to water them deeply. They've lost anywhere from 20% to more of their root structure.
Yeah.
Especially if they're Doug trees,
Mhm.
as opposed to pot raised trees. And there's a whole section on that, understanding what trees really need, which I think is a good place for us to start.
Sure.
Maybe in the next committee meeting, I can work with Melanie or Aaron to get that quick little, I think it's about a 15-minute little presentation on right tree, right place.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. At the last board meeting, when I brought this up, the notion of trying to hire an arborist, not a tree cutter guy, because they know about cutting trees, not necessarily anything about growing trees. I didn't hear any objection to that, so I think that would be a recommendation that makes sense.
Yeah, and really the trick again is finding someone that is familiar with landscaping as an arborist above 7,500 feet. Because the guys we got last time were not,
You mean for just price?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, years ago, an arborist from the state looked at that big tree that died on my property. And that thing was way past its life expectancy from everything I knew. The captain, before they passed away, they remember when they were little kids. So it was like 80, 90 years old probably, and those white poplars have a life expectancy of 40 or something like that. So it did well. But that guy, he was from the state. So I don't know if CSU could help with that or not.
We can certainly ask them.
Yeah.
Do the trees have to be big on Main Street, or can they be smaller trees? I mean, it doesn't have to reach 20 feet, does it?
Oh, no, I guess my thought would be those trees that tend to grow up, if such things exist, and then maybe branch out pretty high. And maybe never any taller than like 15 feet at the most.
Because I'm looking at an 8-foot variegated ficus tree that's fake, but it's got greenery, starting low and getting a little bit bigger, like and the leaves are shaped kind of like not a pine, but anyway, that's only like $275. So the leaves are shaped in a long, narrow, kind of like an arrow pattern. Kind of like our elms or something.
Oh.
But I didn't see those listed on native trees here.
No, because a ficus tree is more of a warm
Warm
weather.
climate.
Yeah, and I think we'd have to be careful if we really did make a suggestion about fake trees. Like I said, I think they need to be of the evergreen variety out here. Otherwise, that ficus tree is gonna look pretty stupid with icicles hanging off of it in the middle of winter,
Yeah.
Because we go through that in the garden club. People will wanna put all these Christmas decorations in the barrels.
Mhm.
And then come March, they're still frozen in place and they look pretty stupid when we're going by saying, okay, somebody get this red bow out of this thing. So they gave up on that a few years ago. So it's just thinking about things through the different seasons and how it's going to look. But
Right.
an evergreen,
Not
I'm
a
sure
shade
there are
tree.
fake evergreens that probably look pretty darn good. I mean, I've seen Christmas decor
Mhm.
of these beautiful branches and they look like junipers or they're better than the and again, those are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you're
Depends
finding.
on how high. Yeah, I'm just looking at, right now, they're 7 feet or 8 feet, but
And I'm not sure that, the purpose of having a real deciduous tree along Main would have been probably in Paul's mind, and I don't know this, I'm just thinking out loud, that it is the cooling, shading sort of
Sure.
look that he wants as
That's certainly
opposed
my
to
view,
just
yeah.
something green that's you know what I'm saying, something that's green that's
Yeah.
7 feet tall,
yeah.
which, I mean, it's still gonna give it a better look, perhaps than nothing to have that, but it's probably not what they're envisioning, these big shaded boards,
They're beautiful where they exist.
Yeah,
Pueblo's got
So-
some really fine ones down there on Union Avenue.
so
It's
you.
amazing. It's like a forest.
Yeah, and it's this whole sheet in the university about small deciduous trees for privacy and color, like a Rocky Mountain maple. And we'd have to see if it actually survives above 75,000 feet, because it's not on this list, but it's 15 feet high with a 15-foot spread. And that would be the size that would probably survive and work, but whether that would be fit the design idea, the board is something else.
Yes.
Junipers usually get pretty big.
Junipers do get big.
You gotta get a water.
And things like winterberry that are 20 feet by 18 feet spread.
And that
Hawthorns.
takes up a lot of space on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and hawthorns can be 20 by 20. So there's things that will grow, and of course, you know, I was the advocate for the Schubert or the Canada Red Chokecherry. We've got our fill of those probably. We hope they'll survive. But that'd be a good indicator too. I mean, those have kind of the premium spot in a way. The ones that are planted it just because they've got nothing but soil around them, and some of it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, so if they do well, and the ones at Hermit, they've done well, they're in, I think it's 10 by 16 space. So they've done okay.
Well,
They get water from the roof runoff as well.
Yeah. And even in the winter, the snow that slides and that sits there and melts.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so I guess,
What about dog urination? Some of these trees, you can tell their bark is, you know, because of the acid and whatnot, it's killing them and choking them out,
you know,
turning them color,
it's another con,
you know?
for planting trees there, a way to protect the bark.
Right.
so the only conclusions I think we're drawing at this meeting is, I guess it's on you, Ing, to come up with the pros and cons.
Well, no, I'll start the list by
Start the
based
list,
on what
yeah. You'll start it, that's right. And then we're not prepared to say anything
right,
at the next board meeting,
other
but,
than we're working on,
yeah. And then whenever the budget meeting is, we'd like to populate the money for next year to plant something.
right,
And
So not just planting, you need to push maintenance of the trees. It costs money to maintain them,
yeah.
water them, change them out if they die.
Yep, well, I mean, we have,
The roots damage the surrounding area, so that area needs repaired. If it's pavers, then we gotta fix pavers. Even if it's out in the park and it's dirt, you usually gotta somehow either cover that root, so they're not being tripped over or mowed on, things of that nature.
back to Main Street for a minute. The other thing would be, possibly a more substantial and permanent guard that is the perimeter of the hole they're in
sure,
to protect them. I mean, the dog away from the actual bark.
Kinda like a
Like
cement berm or something around it.
Or
brick
something.
berm.
a heavier duty version, a heavier duty version, more permanent version of what you all did for just Price Gardens. That sort of black wrought iron thing. And I don't know if that's something again else to maintain, but it's another
Well,
expense.
then you get weeds start growing up there, and you gotta take that stuff down in order to.
well, look, at parks have trees, right?
Yeah.
It's doable. I mean, all I'm hearing is everything wrong with trees, I
Well,
mean,
everything wrong with trees down Main Street, that's where I'm
Yeah,
still
well, that's
stuck.
one, yeah, but in the parks,
Yeah, in the parks,
Parks, I have no problem at all with it.
planting
You know,
trees. I
yeah.
think that should be the lead in, is just to say if there's resources, make it work for our parks
right,
and make it work for maintenance, where part of the budget goes to just the things you were talking about, as well as getting the proper irrigation to that particular area, so you're not out there with the hose and a truck. I mean, you have to plan for these things really, truly from the ground up.
Well, even on Main Street, if they want them, how they gonna want them?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that box isn't big enough, even if you was to build some kind of, you're thinking a fence, I'm thinking something more substantial, like a brick wall, cement brick wall, that way you can fill it with water, you
Yeah.
know, and then soak in.
That even becomes a bench, something like that.
And keeps the dogs away from it, a ways, yeah.
So these are all, I think we've accomplished a lot by throwing out ideas, now just grouping it together and making our suggestions. And like I said, again, my suggestion would be to present all of this, but say in lieu of trying to get things that aren't really designated to work in Main Street, put those funds to where you have a better chance of success in the parks.
Well, basically, that's what we started with, and it was pretty much the mayor that's pushing for the.
Well, I think, again, it's a matter of presenting it in a way that is hopefully in-depth and educational enough that.
Yeah, that's the key.
I think he's getting pressure from the tourism board about making Main Street look,
Spiffy.
prettier. But then, you're thinking about that type of look you would get in Florida or, some other places where they have more room, more water, things like that. We don't have much room down Main Street. We have to do winters that we don't have to deal with.
And perhaps, again, a presentation about what does work. The mountain towns that do have the shade line tree, what they've done to make it happen. And it's not what we have,
No.
And how much work it takes.
and how much money.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think one of the big issues you just mentioned, we don't have that much curb space or sidewalk space. But if the town board really wants trees on Main Street, then they're gonna have to pony up the bucks.
What does Aspen have down their Main Street? And that's different. I think theirs runs north and south, right? So they don't.
Well, the other thing that
Yeah.
Aspen has in the downtown part is they have the big chunks of ground space
Right.
that is almost like a mini park that runs between
Uh,
it's each block and between the streets, they've
Mhm.
designated
Between the
green
direction
space.
flow.
Yeah,
Yep.
so even a little creek that runs through it with trees there, so it gives each street shade, but it's not coming from something that's sandwiched between a building and the roadway.
Right.
Right, space. Space.
And Vale is a little different,
It's a real mixed bag,
yeah,
Dale is,
depending on where you
Yeah.
are within the town
yeah.
and what space they have.
Of Rick.
Brack is
I
kind
didn't
of,
see very many trees
yeah,
down
no,
Burke.
it's kind of like this Main Street, because it's an old mining town and
Uh-huh.
things are close.
Right.
And,
I mean, I always take the bypass.
and Crested Butte went one way. They
Yeah,
went to a one-way thing, so they could bring, restaurants and everything else out on the street.
and then you got places like Boulder where they close the street off, right? But we can't
And it's a
possibly do that.
working mall, it's a walking mall.
Yeah,
Well, maybe we could.
But where are they gonna park? See, that's the problem. Parking is a prime problem in itself.
Yeah, but where do they park in a town like that with a walking mall?
They have, so like Breckenridge, they have that, that detour area where you go
Yeah.
around. They've got like 3 parking lots
right,
there and they have a little shuttle system.
right.
Which they have to do for ski season.
Well, I think they do that anyway
I
to
mean,
get
they do in
people
the
down
summer
on
too,
Main
yeah.
Street.
But that's
Yeah.
what generates the revenue to allow them to
Yeah.
use it year round.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've just been up there weekend before last, and Breck was just crawling with people.
Oh, you can't get through Main
No, and the
Street.
parking lots were full. I've noticed, by the way, the parking lot across from all aboard West Cliff, that's ours, isn't it? That's town.
Yes, and it's supposed to have been paved and It was pretty busy there for a while,
But
but
not now though, is it?
not too often because people don't wanna walk that far. God, they don't.
They literally don't. They will not walk up a lot. They wanna be able to park
In front,
right in front of the building.
but we're spoiled in this town for doing that. You know, we just are. We're used to it, but does that mean the town would never get used to doing something else? I don't know.
Well, the traffic patterns is a big deal.
It's definitely a big deal.
The people are parking over on Third Street between Main and Rosita. They're all, but that's housing over there, so them guys aren't too happy. They're parking over on Fourth Street between Main and Rosita, but those haven't got designated parking spots, and one side is, mainly, private houses. So they don't like them parking over there. There's that open space though that people just tend to park, especially bigger rigs, campers,
Yeah.
ATVs and stuff like that.
Do we have those blue signs with an arrow parking?
We do, right there on Second Street that points down and then
Is
it
there?
turns it to, Rosita.
I wonder, assuming some people are willing to walk 50 yards, would more signs, let's say, up at the Antlers looking west, just to guide them down that way, would that help?
Well, I think once they get there, they don't know where to go. So I think we need a better signage and a
Yeah.
path, paved or concrete or something that would get them back on Main Street in short order. Right now they have to go toward the grocery store, down along that business, between the grocery store parking lot and the business, and back onto Main. So that's out of their way because they wanna go closer to where the restaurants and stuff are. So that's quite a walk, and that's why they don't usually park down there.
What about the alleyway between Grandma's and the coffee shop? If that were paved.
You got them houses there, you got, the other house, then you've got the alley that comes up behind Napa, and it dumps out there by Candy's Coffee.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Again, they have to walk down the alley and it isn't a designated walking path, so some of them don't know they can go down there or they don't go down there. They wanna cut across over to where the train station is, which is nice, cause then that's one spot they can start visiting, right? But that walkway path isn't very well marked and designated either.
Maybe it's too bad we vacated that alleyway that used to be east of Miller's. I think we vacated that, yeah. All right, gang, I'm thinking we're about done here.
Shall we adjourn? Do you-
We had on there,
Randy, got something?
we also had on there about the, memorials.
Yeah,
I think we should dump that back onto the town. Let them come up with something. I don't think it's our responsibility to be doing that.
I guess as far as my thinking was, it had more to do with if we designated part of our, in Memorial Park, that area. But the main thing is they gotta get a permit from you, so they're not putting trees on top of water lines and stuff. That nobody plants a tree out there without the okay.
Yeah, and, let them worry about it. Do they want to just keep with the local people? If you came over and said, well, I want to put a tree here for a memorial for my mother. Well, shouldn't it just be for people that were actually in the town?
I guess I envisioned if we came up with a pattern of trees, would have to comply with the pattern, whether it be our planting a memorial, either way. I mean, at some point, a tree is just a tree, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is, just like Parker Cemetery, you can't just go over there and anybody be buried there. It has to be somebody that's actually done something for the town special. You
Oh,
know, like the memorial to Just Price Park. If somebody wanted to put a tree up, then for Just Price, well, he did a lot. He did a lot for the town, people think, okay, so, and, you know,
I guess I didn't understand what you're getting at. You're not talking about the trees so much as,
I'm talking about
yeah,
who should be allowed to do a tree. And I think we just need to dump that right back into the end of the town and, the board and let them worry with that. I don't think we should be getting involved in
okay?
You want it to be local, at least 10 years,
it. 20 years,
something?
you know?
I have to agree. Completely. I think it's, you know, we just kind of got caught blindsided with quote donated trees. And I just think there needs to be definitely a process and criteria, but it just should be the town.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think, you know, we can make suggestions, but I just don't think we should be the ones handling
Well,
it.
I
I know the idea was to get trees, but.
Well, we only make suggestions, right, and we
Right.
don't administrate.
And
So
so,
someone's wanting to donate trees?
no,
Yeah, I thought it was.
well, they already did. They went into Just Price Park. And then there was the whole, one of the Just Price's descendants that wanted to put a tree, but then decided a plaque. But I don't know where that went because they were talking to you guys.
Yeah,
about
she
that.
hasn't got
Come
back with
back.
me either.
Yeah.
She was gonna talk to you about placement, but
Yeah, and I was out there when Mike was out there and they were looking at different places, but even that, I mean, you wind up with plaques everywhere. I just as soon let it die. And we've had the same discussion in Garden Club every time I mean, we're all old, so every time one of us kicks off, somebody wants to put a plaque somewhere. I mean, it's, you know,
yeah.
make a donation.
And when the park gets redone, the plaques get moved and.
And go away and nobody
Simple.
remembers who they are anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's what cemeteries are for.
Yeah.
I'm of a different mindset, I guess.
Well, sounds like we're not in favor of memorial trees, period.
No.
I think it's gonna be hard enough to do trees within a plan, within a progressive situation where we've designated, like you have, Mark, or helped us designate a place. Okay, if we're gonna plant trees, here it is, but we also need all of the financing to go with caring for them, getting water to them, that sort of thing. And here's where, can we do all of that? And if we do all of that, here's where they would be most beneficial and beautiful.
So would that tie into the notion if somebody wants a memorial, they just donate bucks into the fund?
Right, and then maybe that should be it. Maybe that should be our suggestion, a designated fund, a memorial fund, and from that fund, this portion of the park will be expanded and that'll be the tree portion that you've designated or we've designated.
Did we still want to do around the outer border, make trees for shade?
I think eventually, but I think the place to start is really
Around the playground?
is around the
Yeah.
playground.
Yeah.
I mean, the playground, if you're gonna eventually do the upgrades and things that you've mentioned, that things that need, then well, let's focus on that area.
And where we've lost trees.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I always find it remarkable when I drive by there, you see the people huddled.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I was out there once, I don't know if it was when we were out there, but this one couple moms and their kids kept moving their blanket as the shadow went around, you know? Which is why the clusters are a good.
Which I do on my deck.
Yeah.
As the sun goes.
Well,
So,
that's part of being in the park.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. All right,
And that's why we don't want the picnic tables tied down, you know, when they couldn't move. They'd be in the sun at some part. They can move into the shade, so. We don't want them tied down.
no. And I gotta say, I don't know, I say it enough that people are bored, but like when I lived in London for all those years,
That last meeting, remember that one?
uh,
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it, I'll get to it later.
well, I mean, they don't have picnic tables. Like everybody's heard of Hyde Park, right, and Kensington Park and all that. I used to run in there all the time. And, which is interesting because the horse cars always had their monster horses out there too. And, anyway, people use blankets, they just move.
Well, that's some of the charm. I mean, that's the pictures you see of like Central Park. People do that.
Yeah, same thing. So a lot of the big city parks are like that. I mean, they have some places to eat, but certainly not the whole place, I'm sure. Maybe 5% or so. All right, I think we're done.
Okay.
Law.
26. Thank you all very much. And if you get a chance to look through some of these, just type it
Yeah.
into, and you think this tree is interesting from the list I gave you, just type it into Google search and see if you like the look of it. What else it'll tell you about it.
Got it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
We need trees with feet. That way
There we go.
they can move.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of palm trees. You
Well, what were
dig them
those
up and
things
move
that-
them around.
In the Frodo movies where they were kind of trees.
Walking.
Yeah, but they walked, yeah.
No trees.
Chains, start sharpening up your chainsaws.
No, we don't wanna do that. Just,
As they die, we rip them out.
there you go.
Right. I'm gonna talk to them about.
No, I do love trees in their place. It's just, Main Street's not a place for them.
I have to agree. I just think it's gonna, well, I think the expense of doing it correctly is.
No, if they were in a,
Oh, you did.
you know, a nice
Oh,
metal tub, I know it gets root bound and may stunt its growth, but at least then you can move it so we could get
And
sun.
you could get probably 10 good years out of it. If you, but the tubs, the metal tubs that are movable, you're gonna probably spend around 1,000, 1,500,
Each.
2,000 each.
And they're bigger than the little squares that are there, so it's gonna take up more sidewalk,
Right.
but the dogs won't be urinating on it.
So that's that's the
And hold
third
water.
suggestion, getting trees down Main Street, but they'll be,
And we can forklift under it to move it. Yeah, as it grows out, though, it's gonna
the problem
block.
that I see with that, Neil, is how do you, if you're gonna move them, because the idea, if I'm reading you, the idea is to move them in the winter to help with maintenance. So then where do they go to be cared for in the winter time?
I'm thinking, you know, like Hermit Park, there's that one parking section that's hardly ever used over on Fifth Street that we could put along the fence and water them, you know, when it's warmer days. Of course, you wouldn't want to water.
Right, it's above 50 for an hour or something like that. It has to be for you to water it. There's a whole science of that stuff too.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about how to get them.
of course, they might blow over there.
Along the maintenance shed over there, so it would, you know, kind of hide the maintenance shed. and-
But then it's hidden from
Yeah.
the sun. Wouldn't get as
That's
sun
true.
over there.
You'd have, that's the other thing, you have to worry about the freeze thaw situation on a bark where the roots are kind of above ground. Although the planter that's out here is an insulated planter, I can't see that it's performing a whole lot different than the ones on Main Street, but then we haven't gotten into the fall to see if we've extended
Mhm.
how long they'll plant. So there's lots of options for those big tubs. I mean, they have them in plazas in like the cities.
But I
Where
don't
it's
think them trees are that big.
They're not.
Maybe they top at 10 feet,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't,
well, it's a look
and that's all it is for looks.
Yeah.
It's just a tree, a little bit of shade.
and it's 10 feet above
Uh,
the planter.
yeah,
So that adds something to it.
Mhm.
All these things are doable. It's just, again, you know, when you think about it, you're gonna have to have what, at least 3 or 4 in a block on each side.
It depends on which block, so between second and third, that's one for sure, there's 5 holes there, I think.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just, I have to agree with you. I don't think Main Street is the place really for it, but it.
You can stop recording now, Tony. You can stop recording. We can go over. Yeah.
Hi, Amy, how are you?
I'm doing well, how are you?
I wanna get